The portal will open in 3, 2, 1.
Hey all, Hipper here. So, Portal. The game that made puzzle solving feel like a deadly science experiment and one that you actually wanted to play. From its mind-bending puzzles to its now iconic humor, Portal has become a fan favorite and a staple of modern gaming. But what is it about Portal that makes it so special? Why do so many people love it? Today, I'm diving into the game mechanics, the story, the humor, and everything in between to understand just why people are so hooked on Portal. And we'll take a look at why it's still a game that stands out even so many years after its release. At the heart of Portal is its incredibly unique core mechanic, the portal gun. This handheld device allows you to create two linked portals, one blue, one orange, that you use to travel through walls, ceilings, and floors. It's a concept that sounds very simple at first, right? But the way it's used throughout the game is anything but. What makes Portal so addictive is how these portals interact with the environment and its puzzles. At first, the puzzles are relatively straightforward, walk through one portal and come out the other. But as the game progresses, the puzzles get progressively more intricate. You'll need to use portals to launch yourself across large gaps, redirect lasers, move heavy objects, and manipulate the environment in very clever ways. The real brilliance comes from how the game encourages you to think with portals. Portal is more than just a test of your spatial reasoning. It's a game that challenges you to think outside the box, and sometimes literally. You'll find yourself in situations where you have to figure out how to use portals in unexpected ways. Launching yourself using physics to carry momentum and solving intricate environmental puzzles. It's a rare blend of creativity and logic that keeps players hooked. As you move through the game, there's a natural sense of progression. The puzzles start off relatively easy to introduce you to the mechanics, but they gradually evolve into complexity, forcing you to understand the mechanics on a deeper level. The gradual curve is one of the reasons portals never feel overwhelming or frustrating. It eases you into new concepts without ever making it feel like a chore. So you'll encounter new elements over time, like excursion funnels, weighted cubes, and even turrets, which adds new layers of complexity to the puzzles. But rather than throwing all of these at you at once, Portal introduces them one by one, allowing you to master each new mechanic before layering on another. It's satisfying to see how the difficulty ramps up in such a thoughtful way. Now let's talk about the setting. Portal takes place in the claustrophobic clinical halls of Aperture Science, a research facility that seems innocent at first glance, but quickly reveals itself to be a twisted, dark place. The environment is cold and sterile, but it's never without personality, and that's where the game's story comes in. Enter GLaDOS, the game's central character and one of the most memorable antagonists in gaming history. GLaDOS is a cold, calculating AI who guides, or more accurately torments, you through the test chambers. Her sarcastic commentary, passive-aggressive remarks, and creepy, yet oddly humorous personality gives the game its distinctive tone. It's dark, yet funny, an unsettling blend of comedy and horror. So through GLaDOS's voice and the increasingly bizarre and dangerous test chambers, Portal hints at something much darker, right? What begins as a simple puzzle game slowly reveals itself as a story about corporate greed, unethical scientific experimentation, and the darker side of artificial intelligence. It's a minimalist narrative, yes, but it's told almost entirely through the environment and GLaDOS's dialogue. But it's enough to keep players engaged and wanting to know more. One of the things that really makes Portal stand out is its humor. The game is sharp, dry, and completely unhinged in the best possible way. GLaDOS's deadpan delivery of some of the darkest lines in gaming history is what makes her so memorable, right? For example, her casual dismissal of your attempts to escape is just pure gold. And then there's addition of Portal 2, which introduces Wheatley, a bumping, well-meaning AI who adds a lot of comedic energy to the game's darker tone. But that's in Portal 2, right, where Wheatley and GLaDOS provide a perfect contrast, and Wheatley's slapstick and GLaDOS' more sinister, sarcastic wit balancing each out perfectly. So whether it's the absurdity of the test chambers or the darkly comedic commentary, Portal never lets you forget that it's all one big joke, though it's a joke with some pretty serious undertones. And then there's the design of the game itself. Portal's minimalist aesthetic contributes a lot to its appeal. The stark, sterile white rooms with their perfectly square walls and clinical lighting create a strange, almost surreal atmosphere. The simple but very effective design of the portals themselves, a blue and an orange swirl, is iconic, and there's something inherently satisfying about using them to solve puzzles. One of the most fascinating things about Portal is how far-reaching its influence has been in the gaming world and beyond. When the game was first released as part of the Orange Box back in 2007, it was seen as this brilliant, kind of niche experiment, right? A short but sweet puzzle game that could have been easily overlooked amidst the hype of its more traditional counterparts like Half-Life 2. But Portal did something that few games managed to do. It changed the way we think about puzzle games, physics, and even storytelling. Let's start with the puzzle genre itself, because before Portal, most puzzle games focused on logical challenges that were more about pattern recognition or matching shapes and colors. Think of classics like Tetris or Sudoku. They were fun, but they didn't push boundaries, right? Portal, however, did something revolutionary. It blended puzzle solving with dynamic, real-time physics, and of course the first-person shooter. Its core mechanic, the ability to create portals that were like warp space and time, wasn't just a clever trick, it was a whole new way of designing puzzles. So more recent games like the Talos Principle, Antechamber, and Cube all owe a debt to Portal. These titles took inspiration from Portal's physics-based mechanics and its creative approach to level design. But what's interesting is that Portal didn't just influence puzzle games, it also had a ripple effect on game design as a whole. Just look at something like, for example, Doom 2016. Its success proved that mechanics didn't need to be complex or traditional to be deeply engaging. Sometimes, simplicity and innovation are all you need. Beyond its influence on game design, Portal also left a huge mark on popular culture. The game's memorable quotes, like GLaDOS' sarcastic "the cake is a lie," became internet phenomena. It's forever embedded into gaming lore. The phrase, which originally referred to the promise of a cake that never materialized, has become shorthand for anything that is promised but never delivered. It's one of the many ways that Portal has transcended its origins as a video game to become a cultural touchstone. Portal spawned a massive fan community too. Fans took the game's minimalist design and turned it into a thriving, creative ecosystem, from fan art to fan-made levels and even entire websites dedicated to the game. Portal became more than just a game, it became a cultural movement. The game's influence was so strong that Valve even created a level editor for the community, allowing players to design their own puzzles and share them with the world. This in turn helped build a community of creators who would go on to make some of the most interesting mods and fan games in gaming history, and even work ongoing in the game industry. So when we talk about Portal's influence, we're not just talking about a game that redefined a genre, we are talking about a cultural and philosophical shift in how we think about games. From inspiring a generation of puzzle games and indie developers to becoming a meme that's still relevant today. Portal remains one of the most impactful games of all time. It proved that games could be more than just entertainment. They could be a tool for innovation, creativity, and even social commentary, right? So thanks for joining me here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Give me a like, give me a comment, whatever you feel like. But in the end, thanks for joining me as we explored the lasting influence of Portal.